Hello, and welcome back to Coven, Season 3, Episode 1. This is a podcast where we commune with our dream coven and explore the archetype of the witch. I'm so excited to be back this season, not only with fascinating stories just like previous seasons, but this time around we have a handful of live interviews. Coco and I had the opportunity to sit down with some incredible women this season and discuss their perspectives on things like philosophy, spirituality, religion, astrology, pop culture, the internet, and so much more. And I can't wait for you to hear it. For our first episode, we interviewed one of my favorite internet personalities and writers, Gabi Abrão. Gabi is a spiritual theorist, a writer, a shapeshifter, and all around translator of the invisible. And you might recognize her name from her internet personality, Swoon, or from her poetry book, Notes on Shapeshifting, which I have a copy of. I've been a fan of her work for years, so it was such a treat to be able to sit down and hear her perspectives on things like symbols and archetypes and poetry and internet culture and artificial intelligence and so much more. But without further ado, here's our conversation with Gabi Abrão. Gabi, do you have a magic moment that you want to share? If not, I can go and I can also.
That break actually helped because I could think about it. I was like, wait. But I do have one that happened recently, which is also relevant to like witchy vibes, where are you familiar with Rudolf Steiner? He did like, yeah, he's
Yeah.
my favorite. He's like my I'm like, I just need to know more about him. I'm obsessed with him. But I found out that he had a just incredible building in Dornach, Switzerland, Göttingen. And I
Mm-hmm.
heard that 3 years ago from a friend, and I still have not heard it anywhere else, just from that friend and like me wanting to go. And I always said like I'll find a way to get over there one day, but like I wasn't gonna just make a whole trip of it. I was like one day it's gonna fall into place. And I'm going to this like destination wedding in Portugal, and we were getting the flights back. Like we were just gonna do Portugal and go back. And it kept giving us these huge layovers in Zurich, which didn't really make sense because all the flights there are like 7 hours, seven, like just makes sense. And this one was like, you're gonna have to be in Zurich for 24 hours. And I was like, okay, like if that's the case, like why don't I just like go there? And then I was like, oh whoa, like Zurich is an hour from the Rudolf Steiner's Göttingen building. And I was like, this is it. This is when I go. And then we just kept extending the trip and it was like all fell into place. And I was like, now I'm going to go see the Rudolf Steiner building. And it just felt like one of those, those reroutes where it was like, I thought I was going home,
Mm-hmm.
but dream has
Yeah,
arrived. So that
a
was
very
nice.
intentional rerouting. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Steiner is a pretty big person, and Coco and I are both in grad school right now, and he's like
Yeah.
one of the main thinkers that our program is kind of centered around. So,
Yay.
yeah,
Wait, what's your favorite thing about him so far? Like, I just want to hear stuff. Like,
I like have not done the deep dive into Steiner. I mean, I love like the idea behind Waldorf schools and
yeah.
that philosophy, but I think Owen Barfield is one of the people that I've heard the most about in regards to Rudolf Steiner because he's just like one of his students that was um, taking his ideas and exploring it into the realm of like the history of language. Um, Owen
Oh,
Barfield.
wait. I'm just gonna write it down. Oh, look at him.
Yeah.
He looks trippy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and one of our peers, our friend Ashton, who just successfully defended his dissertation, his PhD. He did his PhD on Owen Barfield, and he just spent some time in Switzerland there at this
Yeah.
at Steiner's building. So yeah, that's kind of funny that you bring it up because I feel like that's pretty closely connected.
Amazing. Yeah, it seems like a big deal over there. And I think the crazy lore with it also is that the original building burnt down, but it seemed to have burned down right after Rudolf Steiner rejected Hilma af Klint in a way because she was a big
Hmm.
fan of his and would listen to him. They were both doing the same kind of like sect of like trance seance, like spiritualism. And she had all her drawings and he kind of like brushed her off like she was like a woo-woo
Hmm.
artist. Building burned down, which like obviously I don't think like she did it, but I think it was like a spirit. Yeah, I was like that was like he got a
Totally.
he got like, like humbled a
Yeah.
little bit,
We
rightfully.
covered Hilma off Clint on this podcast. She was in season 1. She was one of the people that we went over. So yeah,
Also,
yeah,
I
a
will say
lot
it's
of overlap.
to experience her resurrection because I'm thinking like all the older artists that we grew up with, like the classics, like Van Gogh, Matisse, whatever, we didn't watch their like estates like burst open, but like we got to watch hers, like we got to watch
Mm-hmm.
her. And for the rest of time, I think she'll be, as big as like as like the greats that we grew up with, but felt so far away to us. And I'm like, I can't believe we were here for it. Like, I can't believe we were here for like was it the Guggenheim that like put her on the map or
Mm-hmm.
something?
Mm-hmm.
15-ish or something. I'm like, that's
Crazy.
some good. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Guggenheim that exhibited her work, and it was crazy because in her journals she wrote that she wanted her work to be presented in a spiral building. It's just so crazy that it ended up that way.
Yeah,
So intentional.
it is
Love
crazy.
that.
She's the quantum queen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
and
love her.
I forget that you also obviously you're a painter too, and that's where you started, right? I know I'm kind of jumping ahead now,
Yeah.
but
Well, I just like I've always just done art, and I always think with painting, I think it's like I always have to be doing it, even if it's not, but I don't take it seriously. Like I don't sell paintings, I keep everything, but it's like important for me to have like a visual language, I think. And also painting is it's just out of all the arts, I think it's the most just like problem solving, therapeutic, crazy. But yeah, painting, I love painting so much.
it's such
It's
a
my one of the
it's such a tangible way to express that like artistic essence. It's like it's
yeah,
such a way to
so much.
put it in the physical so directly.
Yeah, which is honestly the thing that I both love and don't like about it because I think what kept me from going full painter mode is all of the objects you have to hold on to. It's like paints, paintbrushes, everything has to be washed. If you're gonna send something somewhere you have to mail this crazy heavy thing. So I think that's kind of why like it's like writing took over because I was like writing is like ether art. You know what I mean? It's like anyone can have it,
Mm-hmm.
especially now. You throw it at somebody. With painting, I was like love doing it, but dude, like I'm just not the one. I just can't. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
not an object head.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I love
Uh-huh.
that.
Yeah. It is such a in that sense heavy art form, literally.
So yeah,
Not accessible to everyone.
yeah. It also makes sense. People are coming back to it. You see a lot of art therapies coming up, and I'm like, yeah, because it's like the the phone essentially became an instant word processor publisher machine. And it's like that just is so fast, and I think people are coming back to painting in a therapeutic way.
Mm-hmm.
Because grounded, right? They go together.
Mm-hmm. It
That-
slows it down.
yeah.
Yeah.
Slip.
I I liked that magic moment. I'm like, I almost like don't want to. I feel like that was a good segue into it. I mean, because my magic moment, I feel like opens a whole other can of worms that we could dive into for another.
Some of them be like Act One, the Rudolf Steiner moment, and then
Yeah,
it's like
it's
yours,
true. It's true.
where it
Yeah,
takes them.
there's really no form, I guess, to this podcast. Like there's the outline that's like the general idea, but what we love about these is that we just get into conversations with people and they just kind of take their own shape. Um,
Oh
so
yeah.
that's true. We could just go
I love
into it. I mean, my magic moment was just I had this massive epiphany, this massive breakthrough last night. I've been in this really like depressed, heavy state. I've been in this wonderful relationship. It started in January, and it's this wonderful partnership with someone who is so loving and so caring and so healthy. And I have started becoming more and more depressed. And it's hard to not associate the relationship with the depression. And I was trying to unpack that and figure out why. And it was weighing so heavy on me for so long. And last night I had this massive breakthrough. I saw a video of someone talking about the maiden archetype versus the wild woman, and how the maiden is a premature wild woman. And when she reaches maturity, she goes into the wild woman. But when you never reach maturity as the maiden, it turns into these like toxic coping mechanisms, this need for validation, this like obsessive, like giving into these patriarchal ideals for what a woman is. Because in a patriarchal paradigm, the standard for a woman in a relationship is the maiden. It's like the preserved maiden. It's the premature, never reaching maturity. Anyway, I had a huge breakthrough last night of all nights. It was like this huge life-changing moment for me that was like, oh my God, in all other aspects of my life, I've matured out of this maiden archetype. But in relationships, I have been unconsciously assuming this maiden role still. And that feels like I'm literally cutting off the parts of my soul that have matured into this wild woman or the witch archetype. And yeah, and that's just not good for anybody involved. So of course I'm going to be so depressed because my soul is like dying. I'm literally killing the parts of my soul that have grown because a part of me associated. Exactly.
But nobody asked you. I think about this a lot, is like this exact situation is like a lot of, it's funny how stuff began with the patriarchy and then it almost became more adopted by like women's neuroses than men themselves. And it's like I found myself like when I was like dating the past 5 years that I would adopt on accident like what I was supposed to do when nobody even asked. Like the men I'm dating don't want to like cook and clean and become more domesticated at all. Like they're modern men who just want to like travel and like have fun, you know? And it's funny, but like, it's funny that we do that to ourselves. And then we look around and we're like, nobody told me, like, this man didn't tell me to do this. Like, you know, like, what am I telling myself going into this new era as like a real girlfriend or a wife or something? It's like, it's totally made up half the time, you know?
It's
Like funny. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. It's silly. It's funny. But that's a big deal. That's
huge. Yeah. And it does have its like roots in this like patriarchal paradigm. And I think it's like this lineage that you are just like, you just adopt because it's just something that is like unconscious. I mean, it's these archetypes that are around us all the time. That's like the unconscious of like, this is just how it is, especially if you come from a lineage of where that is really prominent, where that's like expected. It's just without anybody telling you to be that way, you just become that. Yeah, it's super interesting. And yeah, the people who I am dating don't want that. The people who I'm dating were drawn to me because they found this like wild woman, this witch woman that was so magnetic and powerful. And then when I become this like subdued maiden, it's like not good for anyone.
Yeah, no, I relate to that. Yeah, I think everyone needs to hear that and think about that, honestly.
Well, should we go into looking at your natal chart?
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. I'm like, I don't think I've had it read in a minute. Like, I don't even know what it means.
Yeah. We'll just like hit some of the main points that we noticed that stood out to us that like I find um reflects your work and what you put out into the world and the things that made a lot of sense to me. And then I kind of just want it to be like a dialogue and something that we reference back. So the main thing I noticed in yours, so you're a Virgo sun, Capricorn moon, and Sag rising.
Yes.
And so you would think like the Sagittarius rising, you would expect like maybe more of this like fiery energy, and that's there for sure. But I think the most potent part of your chart is you have so much Scorpio in your 12th house.
Yeah, I remember the first time someone pointed out the Scorpio thing, and that was actually very helpful. But I never like I ignored that. I was like, I'm a Scorpio Venus, like I guess I love hard or whatever. And then I had an astrology maybe like 5 years bring it up, and that was helpful for me understanding just that urge that I have, which is like a very almost like eagerness to be like, I tell the truth and I'm gonna find out the truth and nobody can stop me. Um And then that was helpful for
That's
that.
interesting because that's actually like a Sagittarius trait too. Sagittarians are truth seekers. They want to get to the bottom of things. But with your Scorpio placements in the 12th house, I found it really interesting that you're into symbolism and like trying to figure out like what it all means. And 12th house
Uh-huh.
is very much, and Scorpio is also very much about like the unseen and the unknown. And
Oh,
Scorpio is about digging that up, looking, trying to find what is not seen and what people don't necessarily want to see
mhm.
sometimes.
I know, which is
Yeah.
also happens all the time. Accident, like that's why I'm always like navigating with people where I'm like, to me, it's almost like I accidentally become part of these like theatrical displays of the truth between like friends or partners, and I don't even realize it's happening. I'm just like, we're just hanging out.
Mm.
And it's like I become a catalyst, and then I just have to be so careful that, yeah, that it doesn't come off as like intentional drama or like, because it never is. But some
That's
people can't,
interesting that you said that too, about your groups of friends, like unintentionally getting pulled into those conversations because your Mercury is in your 11th house, and that's about groups and peers and communicating within friend groups. But you're like you're communicating probably about things that you've dug up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of like getting close to people. And then it's like a lot of what kind of creates friendships or like connections with people is like me being that person either around them while they're having a big moment of like truth or like, I don't know, because it's like I can't be fake. Like I can't do it. But it's, but then it makes really strong connections too, as long as people trust that you're not playing with it. Like I almost think like playing with your food or something, like people
Mm-hmm.
know that, cutting open the wound and like playing in it. Like it's like that's the whole thing
Totally.
that I'm with. It's like that's never ever the intention, but some people who aren't used to that, they feel like pried open, they don't know what's going on, and then they like realize, oh, she's just like it's just another day. Like I'm not, being targeted. Um, yeah, that's
Yeah.
been very this summer.
Yeah, what I find what stood out to me with that is mostly the 12th house. Like it is Scorpio. It's that like intense like transformation digging beneath the surface, but it's also the 12th house of like formlessness, of the ether, of like everything that is beyond the physical, everything that transcends things. And that's like all of your work is bringing like forming a relationship with that space and bringing it into the physical. But also your Mercury is in Libra in the 11th house, and that's conjunct your midheaven too. So it's like communicating these things in a tangible but a beautiful way to the masses is like so evident in your chart. And I think your Capricorn moon too in the second house is so fascinating when I think of like your work on symbols and how you talk about symbols and like physical symbols for non-physical concepts of things that like you can hold and you can touch. Like the second house is about resources and what you have, and Capricorn is about structure and form. So that's interesting. And then I was looking at your Saturn in Pisces and thinking about your waterfall ideas and how much you talk about waterfalls. Like that feels like Saturn in Pisces so intensely.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like water is like if I had to put like a face to God, it would probably be like a waterfall or like a natural anything natural, the water. Yeah. And Pisces is like I'm like drowning in Pisces people all the time. Like ever since I was little, it's like they're the people in my life that initiate like huge changes or become like my like
Hmm.
best friend for a while.
Mhm.
Pisces, so many people in my life, it's crazy. I don't know if there's just more of them, but it's like I hardly ever meet like Aquarius people, and then I meet so many Pisces people.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's the foundation of your chart. So it's like where Saturn is, but it's also in your fourth house of roots and foundation. So that makes sense that that's like the thing.
Yeah, before we got on, Jen and I were looking at your chart and we noticed that you have like earth and water. You've got like and that literally together is a waterfall, and it's
Yeah.
structured and it is structured, but it's also not in a way, just because of the fluidity, water is fluid, obviously. So it's like it's like structure made out of something that only holds form in certain settings, like
Yeah,
if you freeze it.
100%. Yeah, no, it's like moldable, but it's like you can't really dissipate it like a cloud or something. But it's like, you know, she's there. She's there. I also
Mhm.
with Ayurveda that comes up. It's funny, I love when there's kind of like synchronicities with like different modalities of like judging your personality or body, like in that spiritual way. And Ayurveda, all of the Ayurveda analysis comes down to me being so like earth and water that I have to be careful of like fungus and like mold resistant. Like I have to be
Mhm.
aware of that. And I'm like, it's funny because then in astrology too, it's like, oh, you're basically like a marsh, a Martian. It's-
Uh-huh.
but that's Ayurveda's helpful, I will say, for that, you know, for the body part. But yeah, those totally align, which is just funny, you know.
Yeah, that is really
So,
interesting. Yeah. Coco, was there anything else that you wanted to bring up about her chart that felt significant to you, or should we get
Yeah,
into the
there were a
question
couple.
part?
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of things. I mean, her Mars in Cancer in the eighth house too. Eighth house is also about death and dying,
yeah,
and
what's that about? The Mars and Cancer, everyone's always like, oh, and I'm just like, I don't know what that means.
Well, Mars is exalted, like it's in its like favorite place to be in Capricorn. Mars is like in its like most excited expression in Capricorn, where it like sees something and it knows it can get it done and it's going to do the work directly to make it happen. Its opposite sign is Cancer, like opposite of Capricorn is Cancer, which means Mars is in its detriment in Cancer. So instead of approaching something directly and saying, I see this, I want it, I'm going to get it, Mars in Cancer is like, I want this, but I need to like go about it in another way. Like, I don't have access to just like directly
Oh yeah,
grab
yeah.
this. I have to like come at it from a different angle, and maybe from a passive angle, like maybe through another person. I need to like observe this, or maybe I need to like go underwater for a bit to see this like from this angle.
That resonates. Yeah.
It's also very like mama bear energy, because
Uh,
Cancer is the sign of the mother and Mars is the sign of like the warrior and fighting. And so it does, and in the eighth house, yeah, it's so much about like birth and death.
yeah. No, I've always been comfortable with like feeling like yeah, like a almost like a auntie like mom role even when I was really young. Like I've never like it's never bugged me like age stuff. Like I've never been attached to being like a young like sparkling girl, you know what I mean? Like
The
it's
maiden.
fun. Yeah, like I've just never even I like as long as I can remember I really enjoyed just kind of like having like a mom vibe. And I realized recently, because I have like a new friend and I'm figuring out a dynamic with her, that in so much of my life, I've been like the voice for a quieter person. Like I've had a best friend who like couldn't speak up about things, or like we'd be at a concert and like someone behind us would be talking so much and she wanted them to shut up and like didn't want to say anything. And I'd be the one to turn around and be like, stop talking, you know? And I have this like, like a mama bear vibe. But it's funny that you say that because I was, yeah, reckoning with that recently with like new people where I was like, I'm
that was
just,
a very Mars and Cancer thing to do, to to help
yeah.
to yell at somebody for your friend. That's
Always.
like you're
Literally, I would stand up for my
protective.
older sister when I was like in kindergarten. I would stand up for my older sister. If anyone was mean to her, I'd like find them and I'd be like, "Did you do that?" Like I would just, like, and I don't care when people fight me. I really don't care. And then, but if someone fights somebody I know, I just like use it.
That's Mars and
That's
Cancer. That's definitely Mars and Cancer.
That's so funny.
Coco. What else were you gonna say about that, or did you have any other thoughts there?
The only other thing was just her Lilith in the sixth house, trining Chiron and the Sun, also trining Uranus and Neptune in the second house. So, like, just wondering about how your feelings about uh, patriarchy and those types of social issues, just because of your Lilith placement, and how it's making the aspects with just it's making major aspects with some major players, I guess, in your chart.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to see what it says because for me, I honestly like that's such a hot point for me, especially with women and like helping women be more free. Is I'm just like I feel very much about like I just don't think men are that powerful. Like I understand that there's like a system in place that like makes it like, I think it's good to go, I took a feminist film class when I was 19. I think it's good to learn all that stuff on a very like human level of like, this media was shown to you your whole life, so it's going to be downloaded into your subconscious, just like you were saying with all of a sudden you think you have to be the maiden and it's like maybe because all the movies we grew up with that was the archetype. But I think when you step away from that and realize how it's just kind of just this really thin film that like sure it can psyop people and then take over their life, but I think when you just step back, I'm just like men are not that powerful in day-to-day interactions. They're easy to manipulate and I think that they are meant to be used, but not in like but not in like an evil way. Because I also just love men so much. I pride myself on the fact that I've never hated men, but I see what their use is and I see what they can do for me and what they should do for me and like all women. And I almost think sometimes certain patriarchal structures, I'm like, okay, if that's the case, if that's the case, like just everyone has to figure out their role and just win anyways. But I just don't like I feel like, yeah, men, I just feel like I love them. They teach me things that women can't. Like I'll always kind of more almost like choose like older men in a party to talk to because they'll always tell me something that I would never hear in my groups, I feel. But I do like, yeah, I'm like, I just kind of want them to work for me.
It's interesting because
That's
her
hilarious.
Lilith is almost conjunct her South Node, so this is familiar territory for her. She's just like, like yeah,
Yeah.
it is. So
I
that makes
also feel like I have a lot of similar features to men. Like I think when I was single, I had like a very conquest perspective. I'm very aware of my like territorialness. Like I just don't feel so separate from men, and a part of me thinks that it's very contemporary to feel that way because we've
Hmm.
fused it ways and can be around each other so much. But yeah, I feel very like yeah, like I often don't feel part of conversations about women versus men because I'm like I
Hmm.
kind of you know
Feels
like a
like
good
you've,
stuff.
yeah, it's something you feel that you've like personally almost transcended mentally in that way of like it doesn't feel like something that's binding to you.
I think you have to. But I'm curious, so what does that mean with the Lilith thing? Like what, like explain that a little more, like how that feels.
Black
So,
Moon Lilith. Go ahead, Jenna.
oh yeah, so Lilith is in mythology, in like Hebrew mythology, she's known as like the woman before Eve, like the woman who wouldn't submit to Adam. She was made at the same time, man and woman, and refused to lay beneath him, and so she went off on her own. She was exiled from the garden. And then she was thought to have become the mother of demons after this. And so she's been like demonized, like mother of demons, when in reality, I mean, you can like dissect the word demon and its etymology and back to its origins of the Greek word daemon, and daemon meaning like your personal fate and autonomy. And so in reality, it's more likely that she became like the mother of autonomy and the mother of our own personal fate. And so I think of Lilith as like that original, like, I mean, it's the wild woman. It's what we were talking about, I guess, at the very beginning of this. It's that completely matured, autonomous, wild sense of femininity that also does hold this intense feminine rage against suppression. And when it's prominently placed in a chart, it just indicates somebody who is focused, who like leans into that Lilith energy a lot more than usual. And oftentimes that will come with a lot of activism, or it will just come with someone who's like a total rebel to society. And like, to me, that is like the placement of the witch. And the witch being the wild woman.
Yeah, I've never had anyone tell me about that. That's crazy. I also like have a lot of and like Hebrew roots, like with my last name and where my parents came from, like like the ancestry. So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's
Interesting.
super interesting that it's your ancestry and that is like your south node, which represents kind of where you come from and um, lineage in a lot of ways. Well, I guess that's a good segue to your upbringing. Can you tell me, would you mind talking a little bit about um, your upbringing and just like your relationship with the topics of spirituality, with the topics of witchcraft or astrology, like all of these things, like in your upbringing, how are they presented to you?
So I had that all in the house really early because my dad's from Brazil and he grew up spiritualist, which that word gets thrown around a lot, but like as a religion, it's like a very specific thing that Rudolf Steiner did, Elmaf Glint did, which is kind of just this sect of people. The way that I describe it is like, okay, you know, the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. It's like as if a bunch of people were like, the Holy Ghost, let's talk about the Holy Ghost. And it's like people who kind of study this like going into sort of a trance state and getting messages. And in Brazil, it kind of took a course that was very much about ancestry and talking to your dead ancestors more than anything, and also past lives. But the only two places where spiritualism is still like alive and well is like certain parts of Europe where it started and in Brazil, because one guy brought it to Brazil and it just boomed. So there's still spiritualist churches there. So my dad grew up very much like you know, um, with that religion. So that was in the house all the time. Like I never even knew until way later that he was part of an actual like sector of belief. I thought he was just kind of like that with everything. But yeah, since I was very young, it was like that was very prevalent. So it was like there's always your ancestors are always around. There's always ghosts around. I was having like like paranormal experiences very young randomly, and I could tell my dad about it, and he would have nights where he'd like do his like astral projections and like go untangle things, whatever. And it was all that, but then there was also the prevalence of the witchcraft, because in Brazil's still just like has so much witchcraft. And my grandpa got into it for a while. Like there was always this like story they would tell about when my grandpa went to one of the big witch doctors in their city, and he animated a chicken skin, like it was just he like made it walk and talk or something. And so it was like that was there too. So it was like I had this kind of like, I consider spiritualism to be very like high, like reaching, and reaching for a higher intelligence, and you have to give yourself up to it. Whereas like witchcraft is very like, I'm gonna animate the chicken skin, like it's very like I'm gonna get what I want. So I had both those things. But the witchcraft was very like careful, like superstitious a little bit, but yeah, like spells to get things. Like there's this spell I shared on Otherworld podcast that people still message me that works for them that I grew up with, where
I love
you
that
know
podcast, by the way. Shout
really
out
great.
Otherworld.
Yeah, and the guy who started it is like awesome. Like it like deserves the love so hard. Um, but yeah, just spells to find missing things and just awareness of spirits 24/7, like since I was really little. And that was combined with being born in LA and my dad moving to LA during like new age, like 90s 2K stuff. So it was kind of like spiritual stuff from his like homeland and like these just really specific kind of rituals and stuff. And then like the new age, like surroundings, you know what I mean? Which like ends
Uh-huh.
up kind of making sense. I mean, it's you're into anything spiritual, like everything kind of, so it's like, all that stuff was in the house too of like just like crystal books and astrology. And my dad was always having problems with his one cancer friend.
Hmm.
So hear about stuff like that. He'd be like, he's a cancer.
What is your
So
dad's
I
sign?
had astrology. He's an Aries.
Wait, he's an Aries.
Mm.
That's funny. Makes sense.
So yeah, I was like that. And then I got more into witchcraft in my teens and early 20s on my own because it just worked, and I think I will say an opinion that I do have about witchcraft, how it played out for me and how I think it plays out in culture is I think, especially when you don't have access to a lot of like physical or societal power, like, you don't have money, like, you have to find a job, like you have to find an apartment that's the right price. It's like, to me, witchcraft was really helpful when I just was like poor, honestly, and it was a way to get power. in like physical worlds in a different way, and it would work. I mean, all the time. And yeah, I had my book of shadows started when I was, I think, maybe 18,
Mm.
and I just got really into just like hands-on practicing witchcraft. And yeah, I had just definitely had some ran into some issues. I definitely went too far and I had my humbling moments. And then ultimately I left the witchcraft experience kind of with more of a poetic, kind of like matrixy understanding of witchcraft, where it was like I think I began in a very almost like paganistic, like ritual way of like wanting to just design the perfect symbolic rituals. And then I kind of left with this like understanding of like maybe the entire physical world is witchcraft, and like
Mhm.
practicing witchcraft itself is just like a really condensed way to understand that language.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's I went up into growing up, but yeah, that was that was the whole like
Yeah.
witchcraft arc, I think.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And I feel like that is like a big thing that we're trying to do with the podcast, that I know I'm at least trying to do with the podcast, is like reclaiming this idea of the witch and of witches and of witchcraft, of
Mhm.
instead of it being so like micro material oriented, like instead of it being so about the physical of, yeah, to just like get what you want, a way to
Mhm.
create this like a way to connect with the like personal divinity that is everything. um
Absolutely. I agree. And the word witchcraft really doesn't sit with people. Like that's something I'm really working on right now is like how do I talk about witchcraft without saying witchcraft? Because when you say it, they don't even have to be like a God-loving Christian or something. Like people have such a connotation of almost this kind of kitschy, like
mhm.
girly practice. And I'm like, it's literally a word for just the entire laws of the physical universe.
Mhm.
And it's like a lineage of people who actually put their hands in it. And yeah, like I had this moment but it's my favorite topic, right? I love talking
Mhm.
about what I believe to be earth magic, and then like ether magic, right? And how
Mhm.
differently there's different laws. It's not right or wrong. But I find when you bring up witchcraft, people are like, wait.
Yeah,
So I want to find a
people
better.
get so shut off. Yeah, which is why
Yeah.
I think these conversations, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's why I think these conversations are so important, because I think being able to use the word witchcraft and then frame it in a way that is different than what most people associate with witchcraft, like it's something that can be really empowering to an individual. um yeah, I agree with you basically.
Yeah, I agree. It's so, I mean, our generation, we saw it, it's like there's witch books at Target, and it's like a lot of what people are thinking isn't necessarily negative, but just this super almost like Disney-fied, like corporate version, where it's like,
Mhm.
that's a big part of it too. I think that's very recent. I will say, I think when I was in the 2000s, you weren't seeing as much witchcraft industry, which I have no problem with, but I do think
Mhm.
it kind of takes the conversation out of where religious and philosophical and interesting and flattens it, and people don't understand that they're talking about something deep. It's like,
Right.
okay, you're lost.
Uh-huh.
you know.
Truly.
Even when I was like really in it and even almost in a like stylish way too, I had a realization where I was like, none of these books, because I got really into the idea of always making my own spells and rituals at all costs, because I realized all these books, especially the ones that were just really like gift booky and stuff like that, like Tumblr, like Witchcraft 101. It's like I had this big realization with witchcraft where I'm like, if a symbol doesn't mean anything to you, nothing's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like a book can tell me, like, get this herb, and guess what? There's this crazy story about this herb from this witch a long time ago, all these things. If that doesn't mean anything to me and that story doesn't put me in belief, like, that spell will not work the same way that the spell would work with like a tube of mascara that somehow means something to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I
Mhm.
kind of like,
Totally.
and so I'm very kind of not like critical, but I just feel like both for people who just don't know anything about witchcraft and also people who are involved in it, I'm like, it's so important to really just like kind of just, yeah, like take the industry off. You know what I mean? Like really explore it. So yeah, I feel
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I think that's
Excuse
so important. And I think that's a really good segue into asking you about symbols and your relationship to symbols, because I agree. I think an object only has the power that you, well, okay, that's a complicated topic actually, because I was going to say an object only has the power that you ascribe to it, but that's like assuming that you are the one who is the source of power giving it to the object. I think it's more of like a relational thing of this object connects with you in a specific way that you can work together and do something together. But yeah, what's your connection with symbols? How do you view symbols and work with them?
I just think that they are truly everything. And I think anyone who's not looking at that is crazy because I just think even if you look at words, I always remind myself it's like, okay, it says Coven Studio. I know to read that because I was taught to read it, but it's just a line like this, a line like that, and it's like the very beginning of so many human, I don't want to say narratives, but just like human downloads are in symbols. It's like language, song, like everything. That's like one of the core things that begun this entirely new human story, which I would say is storytelling. Like storytelling to me is a form of witchcraft, where it's like if you could convince someone of a narrative, even if it just penetrates their subconscious with like archetypes, for example, or a story about yourself, a story about another type of person, all these things. It's like symbol to me was the beginning of stories put down that could last so much longer and penetrate so many more people.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think of it that way, I'm like, if the historical origin of symbols started that story for humans, the same way that I truly believe that the internet and the phone is something that started a whole new story for us, right? But symbols were one of those things where it was a technology that hit and evolved, and now we're just in it and we don't think about it, we just read the word. But it's like that was a crazy introduction to humanity. And it is just so just magical and humongous. And so I think when you live with that awareness, it's like you understand, like, okay, if a symbol can then create a word and that word creates a sentence, that sentence creates a paragraph and a story, and that story changes an entire population, sometimes the whole world, what is anything then? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What can travel that far? Like, and on a personal level too, with witchcraft, it's like being very aware of the fact that symbols are vehicles, right? They're vehicles, but they don't drive the car, and the meaning does. And something that I always use to
Mm.
describe this, the concept of a sex symbol, right? Sex itself is just an enormous medium that is just so humongous, so many different things. Like what makes someone sexual, horny, what makes them anything is so all over the place, right? But and this was extremely popular, just only like, it still is popular, but I think it's more, media is just so big now, but they used to like introduce like the ideal woman, the ideal man through like media and movies. And for 10 years, you'd see these same kind of sex symbols or like hotties, right? And they'd even, Victoria's Secret, their reign of like, this is what a sexy woman is, right? And so if someone's taught to think that sexuality and feeling like horny and embodied in your sexiness is lingerie or a certain body type, like they won't, unless that clicks for them, like unless they like that really works and they have the dynamic, whatever. But someone who doesn't have that, they could sit in that car all day and they could buy the stuff, they could get that body, they could do everything they can to be that symbol and still never get to the part where they feel sexual and powerful. And so I always use
Mm.
like a symbol is just the car, and it's up to you to either pick the right car or turn the car into your own vehicle. But the fuel is the meaning, right? So it's like if you're someone who you feel most sexually powerful in nature and when you're naked and swimming and don't think about how you look and no makeup, whatever, it's like that will get you there. And otherwise, if you do someone else's symbol, maybe someone has a really kinky BDSM vibe or whatever, it's like you will sit there all damn day and you will never step into your power because you're in some other symbol, you know what I mean? That was sold to
Mm-hmm.
you and that believed in and that never believed in you and never clicked. And so I think that's true on a massive scale, like world scale, personal self-image scale, but also on a micro scale of like, what are my symbols of a good relationship and a good friendship? And what are my
Mm-hmm.
symbols of like, what I relate to and, certain aesthetics that make me feel comfortable and, like all these things. And it's just like, it's fun to just be aware of because then you're aware of how you're moving. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you for that. Yeah, it feels like truly symbol is everything. It is a world, a reality constructed of just symbols on the macro and on the micro, and it's just like fractals of symbols coming into each other. And I think that also plays into exactly what you're saying, plays into what we were talking about with the maiden earlier. The symbol of the maiden, when you're embodying this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think it's
Agreed.
interesting to think about relationships in this capacity. Like you were saying, if you are trying to be in a relationship with like the ideal of what a relationship is, it's like
Yes.
you're going to be missing something within it. I was thinking about this the other day of how when you're in relationship with someone, we do have these subconscious ideals of like, this is what a healthy relationship is, this is what a healthy relationship isn't. But every single person is so incredibly complex and so incredibly unique that when you come together, the entity that you are creating together is its own unique symbol of something that you have to like understand as its own separate entity. And I feel like a lot of the like tension and kind of problems right now are because we're holding to these ideals as opposed to entering relationship with the symbols, as opposed to like getting to know these symbols and seeing how we feel about them. Like instead of trying to like, yeah, you were saying drive a vehicle that has no fuel.
It's like the sex symbols, like think of the man symbol. Like they're always introducing like, you know, who's the right man to pick to like just look good next to you, or you know what I mean? And it's like it just rejects this entire reality that like we are driven by meaning, and some of those meanings we don't even know because they're just deeply ancestral and weird. And it's like, you know, something passed down from like a great grandmother's journey that you had to solve. Like I 100% believe that. And it's like the more that people, you know, get online and it says, you know, only be with a man who like takes you to a 5-star restaurant and looks like this and is taller and da, da, da. It's like you're gonna miss your life. You know, like unless that feels right. But like I just think symbols are a reminder that like symbols to me, they're made to be used, you know, but they can also use us, right? Because they I think anyone who has a lot of power in the world, whether corporate or political or anything, I think consciously or not, they're aware of that. You know what I mean? They're aware of how to present a symbol, infect people with it, and like use it to their gain. And I'm like, we can do it too. We can do it all day. We can do it for ourselves. But it's good to resist, you know. But like you said, like the maiden symbol, it's like that didn't make you happier in your relationship. You know, it's like it did the opposite, right? But it was like almost like an info hazard. It was like a symbol infection, you know. So funny.
Symbol
I think
infection. I love
we use
that.
some, I mean, I think that that's so like fascinating, everything that you're saying. I refuse to say good morning in the morning because it's got a double meaning. We always say buenos dias because even though that's not what we're meaning, we're not talking about morning throughout the day. It goes into our unconscious brain. And I do believe, like, especially with the English language, that there are so many symbols that are in the English language that we are unaware of, but that were placed there purposefully to create a specific power dynamic in our society.
I've never thought about the word morning like that. You're so right.
There's so many words like that in the English language that have double meanings that we use that are like it's we're literally unconsciously saying, let's have a good sad day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, the morning always does have a bit of a weight to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But then ever since my husband and I stopped saying that, we always say buenos dias now. It feels different.
Interesting. Yeah, because symbols are everything. And so it extends to language. And language is, in a lot of ways, like the cornerstone of our symbolic world. Like that is like the framework through which we can observe everything.
Just knowing that that word, it's like I don't even have to consciously be like, I am saying the word morning for like something in me to be like, that is a symbol of something, a sad action. And now it's like it's like weaved into the day, right? And I think that's very like stuff, right? It's like symbols is how we speak to the subconscious. And I completely agree. Yeah, big power
Yeah,
there.
big power. I was just going to say that that goes into the work of Owen Barfield. Um, like the
Oh,
analysis
nice.
of language and the evolution of language and how language represents the structures of a culture. So I've always been inspired by your use of social media. That's something that I feel like the way that you use your platform is so intentional. And so I find it to be, I love to this is going to sound so insane. I love to study your platform and how you use it, because as like an observation of social psychology, because the way that you use social media and your relationship to like this influencer energy is so different than what a lot of people are doing. And I find that it like has these subconscious tendrils. Like I'll find something that you've written about or you've posted about in like another part of the internet, and I'm like, this feels like it was a Psy swoon, like underground current that led here. Like it feels like you have this like grander reach on like um these on like the social sphere. And I think that it's really interesting, and I think it has a lot to do with how just how you relate to your own platform and how you relate to those things. So I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about that too.
I think it's a couple things. I think it's that I don't see, like, I got online so young. Like I was on MySpace in like seventh grade, and like I got a Facebook before, like it used to be only for college kids, and so like I got a Facebook at like in like seventh grade and acted like I was in college. You know, like I just was obsessed with social media for such a long time, and I just think I still post in the way that you used to post before things got monetized, and it was a very clear shift when social media was like just a place for chatty ass people like me. Like, you know what I mean? It was a place to go where like you could just talk and research and just like travel without moving. And blogging was always so fun. And Tumblr was a great place to just throw something out there and see what would happen. And so I really just never let that leave. And if I felt it slipping, I would take it back. And, you know, for example, like I get a lot of criticism for not taking part in like online activism anymore. And I was like, because it was taking that away from me. Like it was taking away the internet from me. Like it was taking away like my like hobby and my art form. And it was like turning it into this like PR machine. And so I think I've just actively resisted any moment that, you know, Instagram or social media or even, you know, greater cultural trends are pushing me to be more PR-ish, you know? Like they're asking me to
Mm-hmm.
pretend I'm like this public figure, like, you know, so it's like I just don't do that. And it's not really calculated really. It's more kind of just like I love the blogger era. I just love it. I have so much fun and I genuinely just like love chatting, and I don't subscribe to any kind of this like new stuff that makes people feel like they have to like show off and show how great they are all the time. And I also really believe that art is not, I think art can easily be infected by the social media voice. And like art is my origin. Like I was like, contemporary
Mm-hmm.
art was like my origin writing, was like, this is what I love about contemporary art writing is that it teaches you how to write about nothing. Like you could be like, contemporary art is like, you know, this handkerchief like is like floating, like, you know what I mean? It's like you could just do some simple thing and then the artist statement just blows your mind with this like spiritual reason. And that was like my first training in writing. And it's like there's a type of writing and style that social media pushes people to get into that ends up making them all the same, you know, where everyone's like, oh, it's so hard out there. You know what I mean? Like I'm, you know, taking care of myself. And like, and so for me, I've just been like, I don't want to be a social media voice. I want to maintain the voice of just as if I was not online, I guess. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel very,
Yeah.
that's one thing I can be very aware of is like, I do scan my own writing for over explaining or posting for like over explaining or doing social media voice, which is, you know, I'm a good person. I'm so, you know, I'm so aware. I'm so, you know, I'm just like, we're just here, like you're in my living room and I'm posting like it's Facebook in 2009, you know, like what else
Mm-hmm.
am I gonna fucking, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but I think I generally have it. But what do you notice the most? Like what makes you think that it's you know, like what is the quality that kind
Yeah.
of makes you feel something?
I think it is because it doesn't feel calculated, and that's I think the
That's
biggest
not.
part of it is that it feels very authentic, just like you're sharing your thoughts, but it's also really like aesthetically pleasing. And I think there is a power to making something beautiful. Like so much of what you post, it's like because you use it to capture your perspective, and your perspective is just like one of enchantment. It's just one of an enchanted world.
Mhm.
And so when you post these things, it's just everything is so aesthetically pleasing, and I feel like that goes such a long way on the world of social media, where like beauty is one of the archetypes that people respond to the best. um, and so it's the combination of this
Absolutely.
authenticity and this like aesthetically pleasing energy. um, yeah, I don't know, I feel like just it's like the way that you write, and like your tone of writing, I've noticed in other people's writing, and like just your style of posting, it seems to like catch on and become something. And I'm like, I don't know if that's originating with you or if that's just like this collective trend cycle moving.
You don't really think about. Yeah, because I think about that because people will say that to me a lot, and some people it pisses them off. Like they're like, "Why is like why is Saiso like how did she hit my group?" You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I think also the meme origins because Saiso started as a
Mm.
meme page, and there's something to be said for like the energy, because I believe everything. I'm like, internet itself is probably the most spell casting platform we've ever received in our lives. Like it's you can cast spells from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about memes and I think about just like having kind of comfort with like the meme space and understanding that like we're kind of in a stage of like meming the self. Like you used to make a meme
Mm-hmm.
that was like a picture of some famous meme and write on it. And now TikTok had people using their own face in their dances with the meme caption. And now I just think we're kind of right now, I think we're in this very like extended like memeing of the self where it's like every and it's like I think that naturally happened with just my obsession with memes. Like I think now it's like I'm not technically making meme JPEG images anymore, but
Yeah.
like the energy is still there of almost like this like why is she here? Like how did this meme, like the meme of Saisoon get into
Uh-huh.
the group? I thought she was over there. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And it's funny, but that's how memes work.
Totally. Well,
And then
and
I got
that goes back to the idea of the symbol, and like a meme is just a symbol for something. It's an archetype. Like memes, the study of
yeah.
memes is a study of archetypes. Like when you're looking at memes, like the reason why memes work and they're a thing is because it's like these archetypal patterns that everybody can relate to. Um, yeah, that's a that makes a lot of
And this is
sense,
making me realize
actually.
this is making me realize that I think part of it, like I think there's something that happens when people don't let themselves be a meme, if that makes sense. And I think I have this thing where I'm not afraid of that because it's gonna happen anyway or something. But it's like I'm not afraid to be like the Saisoon meme, Like half of the
Hmm.
stuff I say, I'm like, I know this is funny or like it or whatever, but like I'm not really like like it's like all in service to like the Saisoon meme, but like not even really on purpose, but it's like I just don't, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that might be what is, just send her down a river
interesting. Hmm.
where she ends
Yeah,
up, you know, it's just funny.
I love that.
But that's a good question. That made me realize things.
Yeah.
I'm gonna-
Yeah, I just find it really fascinating the way that you approach social media. It's something that's inspiring to me, and it's a way that I would like to approach an online sphere, because I just think it's so different. And you do in like refusing to refusing to like conform to any like social trends and like what people should be saying or doing online, you always share your perspective in such a like bold, authentic way that's really refreshing. It's like entirely just what you think. Um, and
Mhm.
it's just your thoughts, and it's like it's the journalist of like educating yourself publicly. Like you're just sharing these things as you go through them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's funny. Like, I do think it's funny that people have this pressure to be like PR people because I'm like, if you step back for 1 second, like you're just a girl in her house. You know what I mean? Like, why not act like it? You know what I mean? It's
It's
funny to
true.
watch. Like, it is funny. Like,
Hmm.
it kind of cracks me
Yeah.
up.
You also remind me so much of, and I think you quote her in your book, but Clarice Lispector, who's also Brazilian. Um,
She's Brazilian and she's perfect.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, she's
we covered her in our, she's actually a part of the season that you're going to be on. Um, her
amazing.
episode's not out yet, but we recorded it. And her chart, she has so many 12th house placements, just like you. And she has,
Oh,
she's a Sagittarius sun, Mercury in her 11th house. So she has her Mercury in the 11th house also. And that Sag energy combined with the water and earth energy. It's super interesting.
yeah,
I'm
she's a
glad you
fire.
brought her up because I was thinking about her. I wasn't sure if it was okay to talk about her since we haven't like released the season yet or not, but I was thinking this whole time about her while we've been talking to Gabby because very similar, not wanting to be put in a box, just kind of, being who you are authentically and not trying to do anything else and kind of seeing all of that from an outside perspective, kind of looking in, just very much reminds me of her as well.
Hmm.
I'm a
And
huge fan of her. Huge
her
fan.
inability, or her refute not inability, but her refusal to call herself a writer. She didn't want anybody to like,
That is so funny because I have that too, but I didn't know she did that.
yeah.
Huh.
She didn't want to be called a writer because she would be like,
Mm,
she said, the second that I'm a writer, you expect me to say something. And I can't do that.
yeah, I have an issue with that label too because I'm like, life is long. Like, I'm not gonna really know what I am until I'm on my deathbed, I think. And also, if
Hmm.
you call yourself a writer, like, it comes with this whole like social archetype demographic. You know what I mean? Like, that's the other part. It's like, yeah,
Totally.
I'm a writer of a book and I write and I'm writing all the time, but it's like the word, speaking of symbols, like that symbol does not transport me,
Uh-huh.
like I'm a writer. I think of these kind of like like stuffy people I grew up with in LA, who are like, trying to be a big screenwriter and are so obsessed and neurotic about it. Like I don't think of like someone like Clarice Lispector, who I think is just like pulling stuff from the sky, and we're just lucky that she wrote it down. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, so it is. I love that. I didn't know that about her. Okay, twin.
Yeah. No,
That's my
it's true.
girl.
You have a lot of similarities, and there's a really sick interview. It's like, I don't know if you watched it, but it's the only interview that she ever gave, really, that was like a live interview, and it was the year that she died. And it's like this hour long interview. It's super fascinating where she kind of gets into all of that, and she's like, I didn't want the pressure. I'm not a professional. I'm an amateur always, because when you're a professional, it's like you have to write a book, and like sometimes I don't feel inspired to write a book, like it's not always there with me. I don't always want to do that.
Yeah, I love that. I've noticed the same thing where I'm like, the second that you say what you are, like I say this too when people call themselves hot. I'm like, I have no problem with that. But the second that someone says like I'm hot or like I'm a hot girl, like it's like you're no longer a hot girl, you are somebody calling themselves a hot girl, and then now it's up for debate,
Mm.
not yours anymore? And I feel the same things. Like even being a
Interesting.
professional, I'm like, all of a sudden now I'm professional and I can't get away with things, and you know what I mean? Like, because there's a part of
Yeah.
it too that's wanting to things. And I think Clarice Spector, she has that energy of she wants to get away with it. She wants to, write a book like the kinds she does that didn't fit probably into anything then and still not now, and get away with it. And it's like, how are you
Hmm.
going to get away with it if you tell everybody that you're an expert? Like,
It's
there's,
true.
it's
That's a really
crazy.
good point. Yeah, that's a really good point, and that makes sense why I feel really resistant to anything that defines me in that way. I like to say I avoid being on brand, because I
Mhm.
hate once you like once you like embody something, it's limiting. It is.
Yeah. And it's just a story. Like, I think also, if you think about all the best things that have happened to you, like those like moments where you're like, "Well, I really jumped into something." It's like if you think about where your spirit was at during that moment, it was like it wasn't in a moment of like certain knowing and I'm so good at what I do. It was usually in a sort of underdog, almost like humbled before God, like, "What are you going to give me?" moment, you know?
Hmm.
I say this analogy a lot where I'm like, you know, when you have like a really wealthy friend and there's just nothing you could buy them that would probably make the gift worth it, you know?
Hmm.
And I'm like, it's probably the same thing with like, you know, God or whoever you believe in that is, you know, the spiritual force that gives you things. It's like if you're saying like, I'm good, I got all the knowledge, I'm a writer, I'm a professional, you know, it's like I do feel like it cuts off that connection of whoever gives you, you know, because you're not making it. You know what I mean? It's like whoever's giving it
Yeah.
to you. It feels so good to give when somebody has the receiving capacity, you know, and appreciates,
Interesting.
you
I
know.
Yeah,
love
that's
that.
so true.
It is. It's so
That's
true. I think that's a very good point that you just made, Gabby, where we because I was just thinking back on my life and the moments that I felt the most true and authentic to myself. And you're right, they were not those moments where I was like, you know, and I always also wondered why I cannot stand the question like, what do you do for a living? I hate that question, and I just never
Yeah,
even know how to answer it, you know, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a doctor. I mean, I'm an astrologer, but I don't make a living doing it, and I
yeah,
have all these other interests, and I don't want to put myself in a box, but now I feel like I have a better understanding of why that is. So thank
yeah.
you.
yeah. And even if you, that's the thing, even if you said it like it's true, you know, it's like you don't know what that symbol means to another person. And it's like the same thing with astrology is like there's a lot of people who just don't understand how big it gets and how big of an industry it can be. And like, you know, how, you know, Beyonce's getting astrological advice. Like, you know what I mean? Like some people just, they see it as this funny, like kitschy, witchy thing. And it's like the moment you say it, it's like, yeah, it's like the reality shifts when you could have just kind of, you know,
Hmm.
worked
Yeah.
in the know. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big thing.
The best,
Therese
the
knew.
best. She did. She really did. She knew so
Yeah.
much. She just knew. Yeah, the main word that I use to describe myself in like what do I do? I just call myself a storyteller because, or an
Yeah.
expresser, because to me that is like the most broad. That's why my
Yeah.
my Instagram bio is storyteller through words, songs, and stars, etc. Because my brand is stars, etc. And so it's like it's I tell stories through these mediums. That's what I do.
Oh, and that's the truth. I mean, going back to the social media question, is like social media is a storytelling app. It's literally called a story, you know, it's like it's a storytelling app. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, it's a storytelling app that never ends. You know what I mean? Like the second you log on, the story begins. You know, whether you leave, you know, that's part of your story when people haven't posted since 2020. It's like that's part of the story too. You
That's
know?
true.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is true. Really interesting, yeah, to think about then the people who are using social media a lot versus people who avoid it completely.
Mhm. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, well, um, I would love to talk about, I mean, I know you're working on a book right now, or it's like coming out soon. I don't know if you want to talk at all about it, if it's a secret,
Well,
but I'd
yeah,
love.
the fun thing that relates to this pod is my editor is like an incredible, like, I don't want to call him a warlock because he's so feminine to me. He's like he's a witch. He's just a really like he's a great like he made this. I think it's maybe behind me. There's this deck he made called Occult Strategies. Have you seen this? It's like
No.
attributed some here, let's ask a quick question.
I love this.
Okay, it tells you what to do. It gives you answers that are, you know, like put it in a salt circle or whatever. Like, let's see. Let's see. What are your next moves in your post maiden psychosis awakening?
Oh, I love that.
Next
Maiden
move. Ooh, it flew
psychosis
out.
is hilarious.
And it is cut a lock of hair.
Cut a
Hmm.
lock of
Doesn't mean you
All
have
hair.
to cut
right.
your hair.
That's super interesting with the maiden specifically, because I feel like the hair is such a connection to the maiden symbol. It's like literally put
100%.
it off.
This deck is just super cool. But I've been working with him for the past like 3 weeks, and it's just been amazing. That's become my favorite part of the process. But the book itself is essentially like, I would say, like, I'm still trying to figure out the perfect like one sentence description because I need to for like eventually. But it really is kind of a meditation on just like this is how I'm going to put it visually because like I said, I don't have the words yet, but I got really into this idea of like the stone arrowhead being the very first human tool and having it be so similar in weight to the cell phone. And also how the rock, like rocks to me, I'm very passionate about rocks. Like speaking of waterfalls, it's like they're always around rocks. So it's like now I'm on my rock wave. And I'm just like, rocks are just so healing and grounding, you know? Like sometimes I'll just like lay on one and it's like I just do things with my back and it's like better than any massage. And just so it's a meditation on rocks and like you read notes on shapeshifting, like how I
Hmm.
kind of just like use the other stuff sometimes to just describe like how things are shaped. And so the book is shaped like a rock being sculpted, but also like observing that process. Like there's so many things in the book that are like sculpture shaped in the name of finding the apparition
Hmm.
inside, and the title of the book is in apparition. So it's like this idea of like I
Hmm.
am but it's like that kind of consumes a lot of things. It's like there's some God themes in there. There's literal rock themes. I talk about being out here in this like really like naturey like place with my boyfriend hunting deer, and like how that's so like comes back to like the original like tool and what we made tools originally for it. And so it's like it's all over the place in that way, but it really comes down to, I would say, the shape of it is, yeah, like a sculpted rock, contemplating the rock, like you know, and it's gonna be fun. But
I
I
love.
also want it subtly. Goal is to subtly, like the same way that notes on shapeshifting was like I want people to leave with this kind of ease about romance and like spirituality mostly. This one I'm like I want there to be an ease about the internet, but without being heavy-handed and annoying about it because I'm not interested in books about the internet, so I'm not trying to make an internet
Hmm.
book, but I want to kind of have that room and sort of be like, it's okay. It's kind of a spiritual
Yeah,
experience. So that's, but I have this
that
great
sounds
witchy editor, so he's gonna definitely be there.
sick. That sounds so amazing. I can't wait to read it. I love it's the shape of a rock. It's just observing the rock. It's the shape of a
Even
sculpted.
the cover,
You said
which I'm like, I'm like, but it's literally just like it's like a blue. It's gonna be like this big. It's gonna be deep blue, and then it's just like a rock in the middle. So it feels like you're holding one.
wow.
And I'm just like,
That's amazing.
it's gonna be fun.
That's so
Yeah,
fun. I
yeah,
love
I'm
that.
excited.
And I guess that kind of leads into is there, I mean, obviously there's like a particular, actually, the question here that I actually feel like is not a good question anymore is there a particular theme where you find your writing to be rooted? And I feel like that I never mind
Yeah.
because
No, that's an incredible question. Like, I actually have a good like an answer for that I don't think I would have
sick.
known a week ago because I was editing a friend and it made me realize, like, for the first time, I'm like editing somebody and it's making me realize what my style is. And I'm like, no matter what I write about, I am always trying to point at the fact that the theatrics of reality are enough and you actually don't have to dress it up. Like, whether it's about romance, whether it's about spirituality, whether it's about family stuff, whatever it is, it's like you don't have to prove that life is magical or that like your prose is so good because life itself is just so crazy. And then if you pay attention, all the details are there. Like just those weird details that like, when you're in an English class and you're studying a short story, you analyze, like those are happening 24/7 to all of us. And we don't think about it because especially if we're storytellers and maybe we have a lot of online influence where people are kind of they don't want to reveal certain details or be as honest. And it's kind of more about like how you seem than what you are. And I'm like, for me, I'm like, the best way to write is to just look at exactly what happened, get out of your way, even if you said something dumb or rude or mean or you were wrong to somebody, but like if you're honest about what played out in front of you, like it's a fucking play. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
like it is crazy. And like I'm editing my friend right now, and like my biggest advice to her is I'm like, your story is so crazy that all you have to do is get out of the way and just say everything that unfolded. Like,
Yeah.
little things. Like even my friend, he's kind of in some turbulence in his relationship. And last week was his birthday, and she gave him shoes that didn't fit. And I'm like, that's something we wouldn't want to maybe like say. We don't think it's relevant, but I'm like, that's an incredible like moment. So yeah, I always just think that I'm trying to yeah, just point at the fact that I'm like, it's not me. Like life is like, you know, like it just plays shit out and it tells you the truth all the time, you know?
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. Life is the magic, is the myth. Like the myth is right in front of us. In a way, you're writing about mythology.
Mhm. Yeah, that is, no, that's a good way to put it. Totally.
Observing the myth of everything.
Mm. And I think in the future, like now everyone's afraid of AI writing, like rightfully so. I'm like, the writing that AI can do was the writing I was doing 5 years ago, which was like kind of you don't tell the story of how you got somewhere, you tell the advice, right? So it's like self-helpy. Like I did a lot of self-help writing probably like 5 years ago, where I would learn things from a real life experience, but I wouldn't share the real life experience. I would share like the advice in like a pretty list, or, I'd get on there and be like, I just learned something about boundaries or whatever. And I'm like, that's the writing that AI can do actually really well now. And I think it's going to force people to be like, okay, you have some advice to
Mm,
give. Like, okay, tell me the whole story and like include the part about like, where you were wrong and, where
yeah.
something unflattering happened. One of
Mm-hmm.
my favorite poets, Jessica Salgado, says she's like, you're getting better at writing when you're not trying to flatter yourself anymore, because
Mm,
then the real story can come out.
mm-hmm.
And it takes courage to do that. Be like, this is the real story. It's gonna make me look a little crazy. It's gonna make me look slutty. It's gonna make me look stupid, but it's
Yeah.
the real story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm really
I was,
that these days.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I was just talking to my brother about how with AI, it's pushing us into a modern renaissance. We're getting pushed into this era that is so like distinctly human and imperfect. And that's what like made the Renaissance such a thing, is that you had the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution, and you needed art to bring the humanity back into it, to bring this like the story back into it. That makes a lot of sense.
100%. Yeah. I'm excited. It makes people mad. I'm like, if it's making you mad, you're probably not like I'm like, okay, if you're gonna get mad at like AI music, but you're not having like backyard house shows, like I don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Totally. Yeah. Well,
Okay,
and
perfect.
that's perfect. Yeah.
that's the other exciting thing about it to me, is that all of the scary bits of AI aside, it is pushing us into a more like experiential version of art that we've been moving away from for a while. So yeah, exactly. Because people are so sick of the AI musicians, live music is having a renaissance, is coming back into full swing. Like people discovering live music and having that personal connection is going to be such a thing now.
Agreed, fully. Like it's special. Like, and I'm yeah, I'm so yeah. I feel the same way you do. I'm so hyped on it. I'm like it's good for the humans in our own way.
Forces us to come back to ourselves.
Yeah.
So to kind of come to a close, or begin coming to a close, I have two more questions for you. And they kind of go together. But the first, I guess, is
Mhm.
what do you feel? And again, this is a tough question because of everything we've just been talking about, of like formlessness and not wanting to like define or be put your work into a single
Mhm.
box. The question is, what do you hope to leave behind? Or like, what do you feel is your vocation, your offering to the world, if that's a possible
I
answer?
want just like a sense of like freedom. Like if like I always just hope people feel like a sense of freedom after something I make. I hope Notes on Shapeshifting never goes out of print. I could say that. I hope it never goes out of print. I hope that young women especially just like love it for a long time. And I can't speak on anything that I'm gonna make because I don't know what's gonna happen. But so far, yeah, I would love my poetry book to, I don't know, just keep making people happy and feel free. I want people to feel free after they read it, you know? But yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to write a lot of books. I want to write a lot of books. Like that is my goal. It's like I can't say, you know, fully what they'll be. Like I know what I need to write about, but like, you know, you never know what's gonna happen entirely. But I'm just like, it would
Mm-hmm.
be nice to have at least 6 to 10 before I die.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I
then
love that.
I did my work. Because I'm very
Definitely.
dutiful, like, and I think Capricorn is like I have a very whimsical perspective, but I'm so dutiful. Like I'm like, just get it done. Like I'm like, just
Yeah.
get it done. Like not because of any, you know, incentive for like I don't have this like get it done because I'm like this motivated like businessman or something. You know, it's like get it done because that's your work. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
get it done because this is your practice. And if you don't do it, like what do you fucking do? You know?
That's your
So
that's your Virgo sun, 10th
I
house
think it went out.
talking. Like, get it
That's
done
Virgo,
because
yeah.
that's your work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
it's her Virgo sun and her Capricorn moon.
Uh-huh.
And I was going to say
Mm-hmm.
this earlier too. I thought it's interesting that her Saturn is in her fourth house, but it's in Pisces, and how spiritual her dad was. I meant to say that earlier too.
Wow.
But yeah, the Virgo sun, Capricorn moon is get it done.
Hell yeah. I've been loving that
Mm-hmm.
Capricorn moon. I'm like letting it guide me to like understand money. I'm like, you know what? Why not?
It's in your second house, so it's literally what you follow to find the money. That is hilarious. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like making money. I will say I've always been able to. Like I didn't grow up with money. Everything I had to do was on my own, but like I was always just like finding ways, you know, and somebody
Yeah.
said that's the Capricorn. It's like sneaky little
Mm-hmm.
ways to like get your head. I was like, yeah, dude,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Hmm.
on it. Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of trouble with paperwork. That's what I'm trying to figure out. But it's like I'm good at like putting something like in like finding a way for something to be like funded, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
even in like gnarly ways, like little things like when Uber came out and I put my Uber code on like a public forum, which I did it before
Mm.
other people did, and I got so many free rides. Like I'm always like finding little things like that, you know? Like it's not even like businessy. It's just like there's always like a little way to get something,
Yeah.
you know, to like sustain and like, you know, there's always a resource. I always a resource.
Yeah. That's so
You
interesting.
know?
And it's so true. It's, yeah, having that eye for where the unexpected resources are.
Yeah, and there's so many things people want. Like I think a lot like in the kind of economy of things right now where we're all can be kind of like self-made things, you know what I mean? You can just put a flyer for some kind of group event, 25 per person. Like there's just so many things you can do in like a DIY way. And I'm like, I think if there's anything I've realized with that is there's so many services that people need that you have that you don't even realize, you know? Like, you know, I had a friend who loved hiking and dancing and felt silly about starting like a hiking and dancing club that people paid to be in. And he was like, would people pay for that? And I'm like, absolutely. And of course, it filled
Mm-hmm.
right up. And I'm like, oh, like we're in this like time where, yeah, you have literally just things in your personality people need, you know, and they'll pay you for it, you know. It's nice, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That is
So
so interesting. So, to close, our podcast is about discussing the archetype of the witch, which is something that we've been discussing a lot in this podcast and all the complexities and intricacies of that, the many layers beneath the surface. Um, is this an archetype that you relate to personally, and why or why not?
you know, it's funny. I think that it is one that is like I've downloaded fully into my system and will always be there. But I do think I'm less of the witch archetype than I used to be because I think I got very into just like what I can like just like air magic lately. Like, you know, like the past few years have been all about just like ether magic, trance spiritualism. And although it's related to the witch, I will never not be the witch archetype. But I think in the present moment, um, yeah, I don't feel it as much as I used to, but it feels like fully downloaded. Like if there was like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like your childhood will always be your teen self. I feel like my witchcraft self and my like witch self, I'm like, she's just like in there and I could talk to her whenever, but I feel like right now I'm building a new one and I don't know who she is,
Yeah.
but
That's what I was going to
yeah.
ask of what do you think archetype then you are embodying in this phase of your life?
I think I'm like a wizard right now. Like I feel kind of like I literally live like in like on like a cliff far away. And I feel like I'm like studying and casting spells from afar and like I'm really interested in like energy that's more invisible and magnetic and electric right now. And like yeah, I feel like a little wizard. And I feel more
That's
masculine
funny.
more maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
The wizard is somebody else that we interviewed for this season said the same thing. She was like, I don't know if I feel so much like a witch lately. I think I feel more connected to the wizard or the warlock. So it's really interesting,
Yeah.
that parallel.
I was
Because
thinking about that too. I feel like Gabi and Arabella would be really good friends.
It's true, yeah. And Arabella also had a lot of 12th house placements, which is really interesting
yeah.
that
And the way that she
mentality.
talked
Arabella.
about the way that she talked about life in the world sounds very much how Gabi was talking about it earlier when she was talking about how there's just like so much beauty and there's so many details in a story. Arabella was talking the same way about just life in general, how beautiful it is and how we miss it because of all the other things that we distractions that we have. So
Mhm.
yeah, we should introduce them sometime.
Yeah.
My sister's name is Annabella, so
Oh,
she's one of my sisters.
connected.
That's cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, love
Sick.
it.
Well, yeah, I guess Coco, do you have any other questions? Or Gabby, did you have anything that you wanted to add at all?
Really, I feel like it's gonna be a fun season. It's gonna be a fun fall. So that's all I have to say. Fall and winter,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be very active on the web. But my boyfriend's coming home for lunch.
Oh,
He's walking through the door. We have
fun.
good timing.
Oh, sweet. Well, yeah, perfect timing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, thank you guys so much for having me. The timing was great.
Yeah.
All right, awesome guys. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Thank
much.
you, Gabi.
Have a great rest of your day.
We'll see you,
Bye.
everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.